Greetings, cinephiles. I'm Sue Wright, and I'm here with Kenny Wright, our VIP coordinator for the 2025 Wild Rivers Film Festival. So, welcome to the official podcast of the Wild Rivers Film Festival here on KCIW 100.7.
And today we are sitting with Eve Annenberg
And Scott Brock. But before we dive in, we'd like to thank the Wild Rivers Film Festival's 2025 presenting sponsor, the Tolowa Dene Nation. Your generous support has made both our festival and summer film workshop possible this year. We also thank our other incredible sponsors, the Roundhouse Foundation, Travel Curry Coast, Sutter Coast Hospital, Edward Jones, Our Flower House, Southwestern Oregon Community College Curry Campus, and the City of Brookings. If you'd like to join these wonderful supporters in celebrating indie cinema, expanding film education, and growing a film economy right here on the Wild Rivers Coast, visit wildriversfilmfestival.com for sponsorship opportunities.
If you're just discovering us, welcome. The Wild River Film Festival is a 4-day celebration of indie and local cinema each August in Brookings. There are always a full slate of panels, VIP parties, and our unforgettable award ceremony.
So, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wild Rivers Film Radio. I'm Sue Wright, here with Kenny Wright, and today we're talking with Eve Annenberg and Scott Brock. So welcome, Eve.
Thank you.
Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
I'm going to just dive right in and ask you, Eve, if you just give us a bit of your history, your background, and then we'll talk about the film you have here at the 2025 Wild Rivers Film Festival, the work, a conversation.
Hi, Sue. Thanks. It's great to be here, and this town is so cute. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. It's so beautiful. Oh, my God.
And we are so delighted to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
That's a general response for people.
My background, well, I went to Juilliard, to their actor training program, and from there, I realized that people could actually make movies, not just put up plays, but make films and control every aspect of production. And I thought that was really exciting. I went to a summer class at NYU called Sight and Sound. It's probably still around. It was great. And then I tried to make my first feature, which crashed and burned. At the time, there were not too many women making independent films. There were about 4 of us, honestly. So I pulled myself together and I applied to Columbia Graduate School of Film. And I just wanted to make a feature. I didn't want to go to any more school. I'd just come out of a conservatory. I wasn't sure what they had to teach me about acting, really, or directing for sure, screenwriting, but I just wanted to get through it and make a film. And I had written a script. I wrote a script there. I had a wonderful screenwriting teacher, and she said to me, "Sweetheart, just take notes on your life," which had been a little colorful to date. And I got a production grant based on that script from the Valencia Community College Film Technology Program in a suburb of Orlando. And I thought that was exciting, and I went down there to talk to them. It was an incredible program, and they offered me to shoot on the back lot of Universal as a New York City location.
So they had a New York City set.
They had a New York City set. It was beautiful, pastel-colored brownstones, no garbage, no homeless people, no graffiti. And I looked at it and I said, I can't possibly use this set because it's 1990 or something, and I'm living on the Lower East Side of New York. All the garbage cans are on fire. Everybody's armed. Everyone's doing heroin and sleeping in the street. And that's exactly what I need. I don't think you're going to let me recreate it here. And so I said, I can't do it. And I went back to Columbia, and I told my thesis advisor, who's a quite well-known guy, that I needed the camera equipment for 2 weeks because I wasn't going to work on this grant. And he wouldn't give it to me.
Oh, no.
He said, how do I know you're going to get it done on your own? And I had taken out a student loan for $10,000. So I went to the bank, cashed the check, and dropped out of graduate school and spent 3 years making that movie. And at the end of that 3 years, it went around the world to film festivals, all A-list competitions, stuff like that. And that was pretty cool.
That's an accomplishment.
It was great. And then I just kept making indie films, and I wound up doing a lot of producing because my agent realized I was good with the dollar. And
so if you had $10,000 to start a feature film and you finished it, you have to.
Well, I finished it.
You have to have some kind of magic.
That took 3 years and some other producers. But yes, we did finish it, and it premiered in the competition at Rotterdam back in the day. Won a cinematography award. Shot by Wolfgang Held and Joe Foley, two of the guys who started this project with me.
Okay.
30 years later or more, maybe. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing about film. You create a network and you tend to stay connected over time and through projects, right?
You fall in love with your DP because that's the person who's midwifing your baby, and you stay with them forever.
And your editor, too.
And your editor. Editors are a little trickier. It's a different breed of people. Yes. I'm very lucky on this film to have been hooked up with Scott Brock through Tim Monick, dialect coach to the stars, who wanted to help me. And I told him things I needed, and he works with Scorsese all the time. So he works with Scott all the time, and he made a shidduch, as we say in Yiddish. And it was great.
Okay. I'm going to turn to Scott now and ask him just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection to this project.
My background is that I went to film school, UCLA, and then, long story short, where just sort of a lot of knocking around and hit or missing, I did manage to get into the first computer-based editing manufacturer called Lightworks. I went with a friend of mine, and I showed them my resume, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you. So I worked there for about 9 months, and then they said, we're going to send our best and our brightest to New York because we're going to start a new branch office there. And I said, oh, you mean, should I help Mike? Like school him? And they said, no, we're going to send you. So I went there, and I originally went there to teach Sandy Morse, Woody Allen's editor, and then Thelma Schoonmaker, who was working on a documentary at the time. So I went there, and then the rest is history. I've been working with them in their features, theatrical features, since Casino. Now, I was introduced to Eve through Tim Monick, and I feel really very, very blessed, really, to have been introduced to her because, as I've told her, when I listen to her, it's like listening to Lenny Bruce. She has the
I'm not sure
a
that's
very just what she says extemporaneously. It's as if write that down.
Okay, Scott.
It's no, but it's true. It's true. She is a natural director, writer, and she's very, very good at it. The film she was talking about that she didn't name is called Dogs, in case anyone wants to look it up.
We want to go find it, right? I want to go find it now.
It's very well written and very well directed. And it was partly, those two films that she had done, Dogs, and then Romeo and Juliet in Yiddish.
Oh, okay.
That I said, this woman's really astounding. She's very, very good. And then, of course, getting to work with her, we creatively, I think we just hit our connection points immediately. She's very, very good at times when I say, Eve, I don't understand this. What are you doing here? And she explains it very thoroughly, and she's very patient about it. She's given me a lot of room to suggest things, try things.
Editors can really reshape a piece. And I want to come back after we talk about the work to talking about the difference between editing on a narrative film and editing with a documentary film.
So tell us a little bit about the work. Like, where did that concept come from? How did you develop it? And what makes it special to you, I suppose?
The work kind of happened on the fly. It was during the pandemic, and as I said, I went to Juilliard acting program, and my mentor there was Eve Shapiro, and she was also, petite, Jew of Russian extraction, and she had studied at RADA. She was really brilliant, and during the pandemic, I thought, I wonder if she's okay, because she was elderly, living in this big apartment in Manhattan by herself. And I went down to see her, and things were a little bit of a mess. And I would go, and I became a fixture there. And two of her best friends kept calling, and they were from Juilliard also. And I had known of one of them, and I'd known the other one very well. And they were the scariest women I had ever met in my life. And but it turned out they were such wonderful friends. And then they were calling her, and then they started calling me. And so when the woman that you took voice from for 4 years and terrified you is on your cell phone at 8 a.m, I'm like, should I do a vocal warm up before I answer the phone? I better brush my teeth. I was like, it was scary. But then I thought, oh my God, they're 82, 86, and 90. I better do a little tiny quick documentary about their friendship. And so I put it together really fast. And when I did, Eve began to cognitively decline. She suddenly became aphasic and could not speak in full sentences. And that was terrible and so heartbreaking. And I thought, well, what can I do about that? And I thought, well, I can call the people she trained and have them talk about her. And also probably they have imitations of her, because everybody does, and we all hear her voice in our head. And so I just started calling people from my class. And, that's Bradley Whitford and Thomas Gibson, Wendell Pierce. I didn't get Michael Gill, unfortunately, Juliet Prittner. And then people from classes around me, Belina Logan. And Belina put me in touch with Laura Linney, who was one class behind her. And then I expanded a little bit. Tim Monick came on board, and he's so articulate. And he has the world in his Rolodex. And so I was able to reach out to Kevin Kline and Patti LuPone and other people, and everybody had something to say. So instead of being about these women coming to New York in the 60s and kicking up their heels and, finding their place in the world, and, oh, by the way, they're all gay, it became about what they wanted to talk about, which was the work, acting schools, training.
This is their passion.
It's their ruling passion. There is nothing else. And Juilliard was really central to all that, even though they taught at the Royal Academy. So it's not specifically about Juilliard, but it does describe a lot of what happened at Juilliard. Documentaries they're never what you think they're going to be. They take a turn, and you have to follow it.
They develop a life of their own, and you have to follow the story, don't you?
It's true. It's very unexpected. It's extremely time-consuming and frustrating. So
it's so good to hear you talk about this, because something that's out there that I really want to do is an Elmo Williams documentary. So Elmo Williams was central to our community here. He's the Academy Award-winning editor behind High Noon, for instance, and he's got a filmography that's a mile long, and he was just beloved in this community, and he passed away at 103 about a dozen years ago. And so we need to capture those stories before the people who were close to him here are gone.
You do.
Yes.
It's now or never, really. That's how it is with documentaries sometimes. Yes. It's a now or never thing.
It's a now or never thing. And we're blessed because all of the interviews he did here on his films are archived at the University of Hawaii through some connections. So that will help, but we have to do it soon. So anyway, not to take away from...
No, 'cause that's great. I mean, be prepared for that to take you 4 years, like...
Every time I talk to somebody with a documentary, it's like you just kind of, you have a subject, you hit start on it, and it just takes you. You don't know where the finish line's at. It's going to swing and curve in different directions, and it's going to tell its own story by the time you get there, because you have to fact find and pull all these little pieces out of the woodworks. And
there's no script. And so when you see in credits on a documentary written by, I feel funny about claiming that credit, because obviously these words are coming out of people's mouths, but you do pick them carefully and juxtapose them carefully. And then sometimes you find these little miracles. Like in our film, I kept harping on, we're dealing with the teachers, and also I wanted to mention the cleaning lady at Juilliard. And it was really important to me. And everyone was like, what are you doing? And then we were talking about Robin Williams. And then we were talking about the cleaning lady. And she was Irish. She had an accent. And suddenly I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I went, she was the inspiration for Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, my goodness.
And for some reason, that was really important to me. And it's hard to even show in the documentary. We do a dissolve to a photo from her to Mrs. Doubtfire. But Mrs. Doubtfire is so built into our culture.
Yes.
Where did she come from? Well, that I think is where
Mrs.
she came
Doubtfire is iconic.
She is. My kids love her more than they love me. So anyway, things magical. You get some rewards.
I have this favorite. So our first year, 2023, here at the Wild Rivers Film Festival, we screened Mark Sutherland's Abby's List, which is the story. It's documentary, and it opened for us. It's the documentary, and we had dogs on the red carpet from our Humane Society, and they all got adopted that day. He's such a wonderful man with heart. But so he had this 13-year-old Whippet, and he'd lost Whippets before around 13, so he decided he was going to take Abby on a dog bucket list road trip across the country, starting with, so the bucket list were like pee on the tallest tree in the continental U.S., and so he took her to the sequoia forest, and then she couldn't pee. So he expected that maybe it would be a matter of weeks they would travel from the Pacific Ocean, where he put her feet in the ocean, to the Atlantic, where he put her feet in the ocean. And so the story takes you, right? Interestingly enough, Abby began to age backwards because she was engaged and they were having fun and she was active. And so Abby lives 3 more years.
Oh.
So he's got now not 6 weeks of filming, but 3 years of filming with Abby and all these characters. And so he talks about the process of editing a documentary, giving it a story arc and such. So, Scott, can you tell us a bit about editing with the work?
Oh, absolutely. When Eve first approached me, we were literally just gathering everything that she shot, and it was sent to me on a drive. And she said, "I don't know. I'm not sure whether we have enough for a film. Maybe a 20-minute video birthday card, something like that." And I watched everything, and I said, "You have a film here. You really do have a film here." And that was before she got the interviews with Kevin Kline and Randall Mell, and and others. And so it was a thing where I just said, well, as we got everything together, I said, "You have a problem. I've got good news and bad news. You've got a lot of gold. That's the good news. The bad news is you've got a lot of gold, and you've got to figure out."
It's a good problem.
Yeah, I said it's a very good problem, and I said you definitely have a film here. There's just a lot of real strong substance and historical and emotional connectivity going on, and that's what I saw really was the arc of everyone involved, and the very first scene I sent to her, and it was unsolicited, was the ending, which she has virtually left with some refinements, but from literally a section where I call it the ending to the ending, that has remained untouched, because there was just something that was just very clear in my mind. And I think
And that helps create your story arc, right? You have to know where you're going to land.
Right, exactly. And particularly with that ending, the way it's ended, it is a summation literally of the work, of the result of the work. And that's just what I saw immediately, looking at all those pieces. And spoiler alert, there is the ending section with Eve that to this day, I've seen it a million times, but I just literally get emotionally choked up every single time I see it. And that's how you know it is really working.
It works.
And that's the thing about editing, is that it is an instinct. I mean, one of the great helps.
It's a gift.
Yeah, it is. It is. And one of the great helps, even though Eve says, I feel a little strange about taking writing, what we would do in the editing process is, I would literally transcribe, electronic transcription, but she was able to see them in words and picture in her mind how those images juxtaposed.
Going together.
And she could see, how it was going. So she is definitely a filmmaker as well as a good director. and writer.
I had been working on it, putting it together for quite a while before Scott came on. And so I did have people helping me. And I worked for a year with Henry Steady, who is he's sort of a triple threat young man. He's an actor, really talented singer, and had been working in doing special effects and science fiction low budgets for a friend who recommended him strongly. And he really helped me piece together things, pull what I felt were selects. And then I, got the opportunity to work with Scott and his tremendous, experience. And Henry was really gracious and said, I fully understand, that might be where you're going to go. And I was just lucky to have that wonderful energy in the beginning also.
That's collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really, really lovely.
Yeah. But I will say this, as cliche as it might be, it comes from the top.
Anyway.
It really does. It really does.
Do you have any other more questions? Stop.
Well, I think we're going to switch gears a little bit and just find out more. Okay. So I'd like to, I just want to get your impressions of Brookings and the Wild Rivers Film Festival. It's your first year here. And what are you looking forward to seeing, or experiences you'd like while you're here?
I saw Dezo last night. It was incredible. Mm-hmm. It was certainly watching a documentary that's funded by an entire country is a very different experience. But wow, so glad to have seen that. And I don't know where else I would have seen that. It is incredible. And I'm not, the Beatles don't make my world go round, but the man's story was unbelievable. That was great. And then I also saw a short about a guy overcoming his addiction, and it was really moving. And I, met Dan Springen years ago at Valencia. And so when I heard that Dan is a, director here, I really wanted to come. And Brookings is beautiful, well worth the trip. Definitely hope this isn't my last time here.
Oh, we hope it isn't too. We'd love to have you back as often as you can.
Well, we have more films in the pipeline.
And we'll come visit you in New York.
You've got to.
I would love to.
Come on.
Come on back. But no, see, Brookings for me is actually, I've already experienced the Pacific Northwest and the more artistic-oriented nature, of this town in Cambria. So I said, "Oh my God, it's a second home."
This is home for you.
Yeah.
This is my second home.
Yeah, very much so. The word that I think people might use to describe it, but I think it's a little derogatory. It might be quaint, but quaint in the fullest sense of the heart of people in terms of what they have. So, yeah, it's really wonderful.
I said to Scott this morning we were getting coffee at the Bumblebee Bakery. Plug here, Bumblebee Bakery. Wow, and
They
I'm
are
staying-
the best donuts on the coast.
Oh my God! And I'm staying in the Pacific Sunset Motel, and they're both owned by youngish people. And I thought, where in America can young people decide to open and run a business and have it work out? Well, apparently it's Brookings, Oregon.
We do. We have a community of younger, dynamic business owners.
Yeah.
And they are phenomenal, and they work so hard.
And I have to just say with the film festival, the fact that there is such an active management decision to include young people.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yes.
and actively cultivate them.
Yes. That's conscious, too. My first passion is as a youth advocate. So.
It's very clear, in the workshop showing that it was almost an overflow crowd. It was gigantic. So that was actually so gratifying to see because you don't, maybe I'm just used to New York where it's sort of, well, you're on your own, kid, kind of a thing. So it's good to see.
Yes,
here.
and
It really
because
is.
we are very rural. Thank you. We are very rural, and so the youth here don't necessarily get the kind of opportunities that they would have in New York or LA or Austin. So the film workshop is cobbled together with ideas from New York University, their film workshop in the summer, and UCLA's summer film workshop, and the one in the Bay Area. I looked at all of those, and it's like, what can we do? But it's really a gift that Dan Springen brings here because he brings the connections that allow us to bring the filmmakers from around the country to give these kids a chance to try things out.
I love what you said about if you want to be a sponsor of the new film economy. So is the film festival bringing like a new kind of economy to? Because when I look at this
That's the
town, I'm
intent.
thinking
It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? You can't see what's happening below it, but we have to train up the skill sets so I think we're at the end of our conversation, even though it's not done. And so this, for those of you who are joining us, this is the Wild Rivers Film Festival. To learn more about the festival, buy passes, volunteer, or explore sponsorship opportunities, visit wildriversfilmfestival.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Our recordings are done by Michael Gorse, our sound mixing and editing by the wonderful Tom Bozak. I'm your producer, Sue Wright. And until next time, enjoy the films.